Dear audience, hope you would be fine. Today we are going to discuss the Pakistani novel The Bride, The Pakistani Bride by Bapsi Sidwa. She is a Pakistani and American. I mean, she holds the two nationalities, Pakistani and American. So, however, majorly she is categorized as a Pakistani fiction writer, though she is living in America, but she is considered as Pakistani fiction writer. So this novel, The Pakistani Bride, famously deals with the themes of women and sufferings of the woman, the partition of the subcontinent in 1947, and majorly it's not romantic. It's full of sufferings, trauma, tribal customs. These are the settings of this novel. So first we discussed the major characters of this work. The other works of Bapsi Sidwa are The Crow Eaters, Ice Candy Man, and American Brat, and this Pakistani Bride are her famous novels. The novel opens first of all. There are three sections of this novel. In the first section, we visit a tribal mountainous region, and then in the second section there is the plain, there is the panorama and background of the partition of Pakistan, and in the third there is again the setting of a mountainous region where Zaitun is married. First we discuss the major characters, then we would be moving to the plot lines, and then we would be moving to the themes, and then we would be moving towards the characteristics of this novel as well. So there are first majorly four characters are there. One is the Zaitun, Qasim. Zaitun and Qasim are related to one another, and then is Carol, and then is Major Mushtaq. These are central characters in the this novel. So basically these are the stories of two women and two men as well. Means Carol and Major Mushtaq is another story in the novel, and Zaitun and Qasim, they have their own story in the novel. So first of all, in the first section, when the novel opens, we meet Qasim. He was of 10 years old, and he was living in the tribal area of Pakistan, and the context is of the partition of the Pakistan. Means it was pre-partition. Partition was going to happen soon, very close to the partition time. So uh, when novel opens, we see that his father gives him the gun. As you know, in the tribal areas, the honor killing, the use of weapons, that is very common. So even in the age of 10, his father is going to give him what? Instead of education or anything else, he is just making him train to use the weapons. So it shows the traditions and the customs of the tribal area in Pakistan. uh, Means they may be charged as barbarian, are the people lack of civilization, people who are more interested in weapons rather than education. So later on we see that his father, means Qasim's father, has given some debt to money to a neighbor, but he could not return back. So that neighbor asks that, replies that I am unable to pay my debt again back, so I would be giving my daughter as a compensation. So this also shows the position of the woman in the tribal area, that in return of the money, he is going to give his daughter in the return of the money. How it also shows the tradition of the tribal customs. And that woman is married to Qasim. Qasim at that time was of 13 years age, and she was quite much larger, older than Qasim. And she used to, ironically, she used to laugh at Qasim that he is a very child, and even at the age of 16, he started experimentation, and even Qasim was not knowing what he was supposed to do with this woman. He was not sure of the meaning of the marriage, means the physical contact which happens in the marriage. So even the initial years of his marriage, he used to play with women as a playmate rather than husband and wife. He was not aware of the uh, relationship of a husband and wife. Later on, he develops, and he starts his marital life after 3 or 4 years with that woman. And later on, we see that uh, there happens a plague in the novel, and all the kids owned by are had by Qasim. They died in that plague, and he remains alone. And then he moves to the plain area of the Pakistan, where he meets Zaitun. Zaitun was an orphan child, and her parents has been killed in the massacres of the partition of 1947. So she was just alone. She was in a very traumatic condition, and she was also of the 10 years at that time. She was not aware of her future. So he adopts that, and they start living in Lahore. So from 10 years to her age of 16 years, she used to play in the Lahore, the streets of Lahore, where the life was very common, where the women have been there chuckling and talking about their marital status and their children as well. So she used to be in a very natural way over there. But when Zaitun reached up to the age of 16, her father, I mean her stepfather, which was not her actual father, he again gives the words of marriage of her hand to his cousin in that the tribal area. And she's married and migrated towards that tribal area. She was not willing on this marriage. It was quite unwilling, willing marriage. uh, Even she was not asked about this marriage, and she even protested against this marriage as well. And on her protest, her father says, means Qasim says that I would be killing you with the bare hands, means just by pulling your neck, and I have given my words. By your this protest, you are going to challenge my honor. You are going to challenge my promises. I would not leave you. In such condition, in such tortured and a condition of unwillingness, she moves to the cousins of Qasim, where she was not willing. You know what might be the consequences of such marriage. She was consistently in the torture, means two words. Her the next word, future life, means definitely marriage is considered a very next life. She was disappointed from her that career as well, her marriage life as well, and she was not having nothing back to return, as she was not having her own parents, and Qasim was like a very barbarian for her. So there she constantly stress that I am not going to carry on this marriage. I am not happy with this marriage. But she was bound, and over there she was raped, tortured for many times. Means definitely one rape is in the form of that unwilling marriage. That is a we definitely take it as a rape. Even then she moves from that. She runs away. She escapes from that marriage and her house. But during and then she sees some army personals, and she considers that they are going to rescue me. From her house to the marriage, so to the army camps, she's raped and tortured by some street men as well. So ultimately we see that Zaitun is at the army camp. But up to that, when she reaches over there, she had gone totally unconscious and mad of the atrocities and the torture. So this is the line of the Zaitun. She is the protagonist and heroine of the novel. And the Qasim, While on the others, there is a parallel story of the Carol and Major Mushtaq. Major Mushtaq was an army soldier, and Carol was an American lady. She used to cherish the life of the soldiers and the army personnel in Pakistan. Therefore, she gets married to Major Mushtaq. But when she comes and see uh, that Major Mushtaq was simply a bare, you may say it, unromantic man. He does not value and respect to the woman. He also considers the woman as a toy, as a some sort of transaction, some material of transaction, and object of commodity. Means object of commodity means we take the woman as a object of transaction. Means money is to be transacted from one ATM to another ATM, from one hand to another hand. Similarly, woman over here in these two character in the two stories, woman has been taken as a some sort of toy from which is going to be manipulated, and played with different hands. So woman lacks its will in these characters. So disillusioned by Major Mushtaq, she also returns. Carol returns to America, and their relationship is also broken up. So there are other characters. They are minor characters, but they are no, they some characters of this novel are showing love with one another. For example, Misri Khan, Ashik, and Sakhi. They also show they are not having child, but they show love to one another. So we see, uh, and now and that in this the other story, which is the dominant theme of this novel, that is the story of partition. Means on the one side we have the personal stories, and in the background we have the story of the partition. What happened in the partition? That women's, even the whole families have been killed. Once the alarm of partition has started, so it was not only the partition means move migration of people from one border to across the other border from Pakistan. Means in this partition, people from Pakistan have been migrated to India, and those who wish to join Pakistan, they have been migrated to Pakistan. So it was cross border migration. Simply, we usually take the partition as a division and movement of the people from one to another, but it was massacres. Even the whole families have been killed. I myself has conducted a PhD project. It was some sort of research paper, and I interviewed these people who have migrated from their India to Pakistan. And one story was very interesting for me, and even it was mind blowing and tear flowing as well. I asked a man, he was 80 to 90 years old. I said that relate some very strange or innovative or the memorable incident of your life during the partition, which you still remember. He said that we have been moving from India to Pakistan, and on the way we have seen blood, we have seen this and that, but one interesting event and a tragic event which he has narrated to me was that he said we met two girls, and they were of up to 6 or 7 years old. I said, then what happened? And he said that they were weeping, they were not having their parents, and we adopted those girls and we brought them to Pakistan over here. He said, as we were the grown olds, but severely we have been facing the problem of food. We were not having food. And he said that due to the lack of this food, one of those two girls has been died. And he said that the other one we have adopted, we got later on, she got married over there. Now she is living happily in Pakistan. But one girl, uh, even in spite of being in the safe hands, She died because of the scarcity of the food. Is it not tragic? Is it not alarming? Is it not horrifying? So it's not means someone one might be saying that it might be an imaginative story or imaginative dialogical imagination of Bapsi Sidwa. So I'm not going to narrate it. Such events have had been happening in the actual life as well. People have witnessing such incidents as well in their life as well, and still they people are narrating such stories as well. So majorly means this is the story of uh, as we have discussed, there are the three sections which are dealing with the character. One is in the tribal area of Pakistan, the section 1. Section 2 deals with the partition, means Qasim is over there during the partition. And in the third section, we again see that uh, uh, Zaitun into the tribal area, and where she is suffering consistently with her unwilling marriage. So these are the plot lines of the and on personal scale there is the chaos, unwillingness, torture, pessimism, disillusionment, melancholy. And on the social scale and the political scale, means geographic scale as well, there is the chaos, disillusionment, lawlessness. All these are the major characteristics. So if we talk about, if someone asks about the major themes of the novel, so majorly there are the following themes of the novel. Marriage is the theme. Marriage means uh, marriage is basically an agreement between two persons, and that is that the initial element of that agreement is the willingness. So willingness is missing in these marriages, and this also represents the situation of the and marriage and woman in the Eastern culture as well. And the other is that of partition. What had happened partition, that is also the major theme. The third one is the position of women in the Eastern society as well. And then is the role of army and military as well. That is also the theme of this novel. So, if we talk, these are the major themes which have been dealt in this novel. If we are going to talk that what are the characteristics of modern novel which has been discussed in this novel, they are the disillusionment, pessimism, melancholy in the writing, means in the whole novel. As you know, in the 20th first century, novel is not no more romantic like that. There it was a young girl, she forgot her handkerchief and that she was moving, and then the hero came and he helped the heroine, and that the modern novel, the novel in the 20th first century is no more romantic in that sense, in classic sense. So it deals with the modern pessimism which a modern man has to is has to suffer and is suffering as well. It is more dealing with the wars as well. So postmodern novel are the modern novel deals with the themes of pessimism, disillusionment, melancholy, and all these characters are evidently present in this novel as well. Means no character in this is not happy living a happy life. Then there the other character is the fragmentation and the loss of faith. That is the characteristics of postmodern novel, and this is also evidently present in this novel. um, um, all the characters, they are not definite to their faith, what they are supposed to do, what they are doing. They are in the situation of fragmented. uh, Zaitun, Qasim, Carol, Major Mushtaq, they all are the fragmented and they have no faith. Uh, the lives of the true women, which are the major characters of the novel, Zaitun and the Carol, are full of mishaps, and at some point they feel helpless and do not know what to do and then they give up on the life to the end. And then the third character which has been over there, that is the reflection of modern chaos and confusion. Means modern age is more the age of chaos and confusion. Similarly, in this novel we see the chaos and confusions with the characters of the blood sheds, mob attacks, migration, partition. All these has been the confusions. And one thing which I am going to mention over here, that even those our leaders, Gandhi and Jinnah, they have never predicted such some sort of massacre and genocide and killing of the people. Suddenly it happened. It happened unexpectedly without any reasons was. Then the passion for humanity and humanitarianism, definitely the modern novel also deals with the themes of chaos, and it talks for the humanitarian values. Similarly, in this novel, Bapsi Sidwa also has represented the life of the um, uh, men. No one in the society takes them as human beings. To the Zaitun and to Carol, they have been taken as equal to the humans, even less than animals. Animals, as animals have their own rights. So, but they were having rights, but when rights are not given, then man becomes more deprived than the animals. So they cannot have any choice of their own and have to do what their men say. They have to do that. Both of these women. Then is the other character, which is that of the class differences, means tribal issues has been discussed, and the working class is there. Means army has been shown that they are constructing the bridges. That is the use of technology. Means modern novel also focus on the use of technology. And one interesting thing is that modern fiction, to the modern fiction, we say that it is more than the art for life's sake. Means from art we try to cure our lives. So in this way, in this novel, Pakistani Bride, it is more only a piece of art which represents the life for life. Its purpose is art for the sake of life. It deals with the life of the woman. It is a voice on the behalf of women in a male dominant society. Patriarchy have been oppressive to the woman. uh, Definitely, there is the development of psychology and the literature as well in the postmodern fiction. We see that. So this characteristics is also found in this novel. This psychology is the main part of the literature in the modern era. Bapsi Sidhwa has also highlighted many psychological issues in her novel. The impact of leaving one's homeland, means when one leaves, that is the some displacement, diaspora. So he once a person is displaced, he remain uprooted. And particularly when woman, she has no house, so she might be regarded as in a double trouble, in a situation of double trouble. And when she is amid the massacres, mobs, attacks, migration, hardships, living in the camps. So this situation, the frustrations of a person, of the characters, means by this, by so much story of this, which we have discussed, you might imagine that to what psychological stress she might be, Zaitun, from which psychological sufferings she might be moving on in such backdrops. Then the anxiety and interrogations are the modern techniques which have been used in the novel. Similarly, they have been used in this novel as well. So, as you know, after 1990s, the theme of trauma has developed in fiction, and usually already in the Toni Morrison's Beloved, she has represented the trauma of the blacks in the America. Similarly, trauma of the 1990s has got much influence, means as a study of the critical theory. So this novels to a greater extent represent the trauma of the woman as well in the backdrop of the partition of the 1947. So partition had happened, but worst of the victim was the woman, as in the case of the Zaitun, as she had lost all her family. And the marriages happens, but woman has to suffer. You know, we have heard that marriages are the matches are made in the heaven, and the marriage is celebrated on the earth. So such matches also happen, even though they happens on the heaven, and marriages are celebrated on the earth, but woman has to suffer in such. Woman is more an object of transaction. Woman is more an object of torture. Woman is more an object of abductions. And uh, the other things which she has to suffer a lot. uh, that's more central theme of this novel. uh, in case of any question, as you know, I am going to talk with my own perceptions and the mentality. So if you have some confusion about this, you can ask me about in the comment section. I would be readily available to answer your questions. Similarly, in this play, the backdrop of the tribal issues, tribal values have been discussed as well. That in the 21st century, in spite of getting education, our tribesmen are going to transmit to their what to their next generation. That is the honor, means honor killing, and weapons, and they are still selling the woman. How it is strange, in the 21st century they are going to sell their daughters. They are going to give their daughters in exchange of the money. uh, and what can be more tragic than this, in this novel as well, or any other tragedy can be more tragic than this one. So this novel deals with the trauma of the woman which they are suffering on the landscape of the Pakistan, and they have suffered during um, 1947. And even I'm not though I'm not going to make a statement, but still the women are suffering a lot in Pakistani society as well. There is need to be the raised voice by writers like Pepsi Sidwa. Thank you with this talk. Goodbye.